Hello there, YouTube. It's February 17th, 2022, and I'm ready to do another video. If you remember, in my last video, I wasn't feeling too well, and I took some time off, but I'm right back at it again, and we're ready to keep on going so we can get this thing done. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want to get going on this. But the first thing I want to do is, like I always do, aha! I got 52 subscribers. So that's like 3 more than the last time. So welcome to my channel. I'm going to do my best not to bore you, and we're going to get right back into it. So today, this video is a DIY valve cleaning and polishing. You know, there's all kinds of them out there, but some of them I think I wouldn't do, you know. So just to kind of give you a quick little rundown, and I'll be explaining more of this in the video itself, but almost everybody's using these burgundy or red 3M pads. This is fairly aggressive pad. I think it's too aggressive. I'm going to be using an ultrafine pad for cleaning the face of my valve and the underside of my valve. I'm staying away from the stem, okay? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than what you've seen on the internet. What I did is I basically took a jar and I put acetone and .4 brake fluid. 60% acetone, 40% .4 brake fluid. And that's basically a brake clean. Alright? And I put the red pad in the bottom of a jar. And then I put my valve in it. Right? I have all my valves kept apart. Every single one of them is kept as a set. And I do one valve at a time. And I take the valve itself, not with everything attached to it, and I basically set it in the jar. Alright, and then I just fill it up a little bit with the fluid that I make, or I'm going to just call it my cleaner. Okay, so I put that in the jar, and then I took my palm sander and I made a little rubber gasket, and you'll see in the video as I do it. I just took an inner tube, an old inner tube, and I cut it and put that on the face of this so it grips this jar, and I kind of make my homemade ultrasonic cleaner. And in the video I showed me putting it on there, vibrating a little bit, and then I basically cut where I'm taking it back off. But I will let you know that each valve I spent 2 to 3 minutes, and then I went ahead, took it out, and then took my pad, my gray pad, and touched it up a little bit to loosen things up again, and stuck it back in the jar and did it for another 2 minutes. That's about all I did, 2 to 3 minutes each time. And then I took the valve itself back out and wiped it down, and then I just took some polish and polished it. You'll see exactly how I go about doing all that. Let me see. So, hey, if you guys like what you see, give me a thumbs up, because I think that that's kind of an algorithm that, you know, Google or YouTube uses. You know, thumbs up, and of course subscribers. And I want to thank all your subscribers, you know, for out there sharing it and, you know, giving me a thumbs up. You know, I really want to get the video out. It's mainly for the people, right? I'm not sponsored. I don't make money. I don't do anything. I made these videos for myself. I had no place to store all this footage, so I'm using YouTube as a storage facility. It's basically how this all began, right? So, if you remember in a couple of videos ago, I'll put a link to it right up here, and that's to the M117 cylinder head disassembly. So that way there you know how we got to this point, right? Alright, so now, disclosure. I have never removed an engine before, and I've never torn an engine apart before. Needless to say, I've never put one back together either. So, but we're in the process of putting things back together, believe it or not. So, just so you know, right? So this is how I did it, not how I do it, because I've never done it, right? That's my slogan. I kind of stumbled across that one as I went along. But look, if you see that I'm doing something wrong, or you know something's questionable, post it in the comment section so the whole world will know, and I'll even update the description to reflect anything that is wrong. So far, no one's done that in any of my videos, so I guess I'm really great, right? I must be the best mechanic out there. Right? Okay. So let's see. Alright, so I've explained how my thing goes. So I do want to touch on this. You know, the red pad, I went ahead and did some research on this stuff because everybody's using this red pad when they're doing this kind of stuff. And it's a general purpose pad. It's about 220 to 400 grit. 400 grit, I don't know. That's kind of aggressive. The light grade pad is their ultrafine pad. It's between 600 and 800 grit. So it's not as aggressive. I feel that that's the way to go. And stay away from your stem. Don't do the stem. You really don't, you won't have to. Trust me, you'll see in the video. You don't really have to mess with that stem really. We're going to just polish it a little bit. And as I said, it was 60% acetone and 40% brake fluid, .4 brake fluid. I found that to work excellent. If you look at the acetone, you'll find out it is a degreaser. It will pulverize the carbon, especially with this little ultrasonic thing that I made. All right, without any further ado, let's just jump into it and take off right from the jar. And I'm going to catch up with you kind of at the end of this video because my video camera stopped working. I'm still using the same video camera, but I'm using a capture card instead. It's all self-contained. I don't need a computer or anything. But I'm running HDMI out of my camera and then right into a capture card. So we'll see how all that comes out. But unfortunately, at the end of this is when I cleaned all these other components, the springs and all that. And all I did was just put it in some cleaner and just clean, you know, just some degreaser, clean them all up. But, you know, I added WD-40 to all these parts because you don't want any of this stuff to be rusting. And then I put them all back in the bag. So that's kind of how the ending's going to go. I'm going to catch up to you at the very end, and we'll just touch base on that real quickly. But let's just jump into it. I'll catch you guys later. So in the bottom of this jar, I have a red pad for this to rest on. And as it's vibrating, it will actually help. And then I'm wiping it with the ultra fine rather than the red. I personally think the red is a little too coarse. So these are the ultra fine, and that's what I'll be cleaning it with. And I just have a jar. I made a little rubber gasket for it. See how that came out, huh? Almost. Well, that's pretty much it. Okay, so basically, you know, that's pretty clean, and there's the back side. It's also pretty darn clean. So what I notice, do you see it's really shiny in this area and then not as shiny? So this is the stuff that's going up and down the guide. This is the part that is all polished. So not quite sure what we'll do about that. So this valve has got some rust on it and carbon. Let's see how that. I drop it almost every time. I know that others have a lot worse looking valves, but I would say that it only means you have to do it longer, not more aggressively. And I see guys, you know, going all the way up and down the stem of the valve, you know, all the way along here with that red, you know, that whole thing with the red one. I don't know if that's a good idea. Okay, right? And then there's the back side. There's no pitting or anything like that. It's that I can tell it needs to be, you know, better polished, which we're going to take care of in a few minutes. So, you know, here's one that's bad, right? Got a lot of carbon on it. You can see it. It's all black, hard. You know, I mean, that's feels pretty thick, the stuff that's on that. Blows me away how that works. It's amazing. You'll see. So the solution I'm using, hey guys, the solution I'm using is about 60% acetone and 40% .4 brake fluid. It cuts it pretty good, as you can see. I mean, look, see, I just wiped that part. You can see. Can you see that little spot right there, right in the bottom? Look, it's almost already cleaned. But again, I don't recommend using the red pad. I've seen the guys on there. I see scratches on their valves. I don't know. Does it hurt? Maybe no. But I noticed they have scratches. There's no sense in scratching it. I'm not going up the stem at all, so just to let you guys know, I'm below the stem. Polished is what you want, and you don't want to remove any material. Even the ultrafine is probably a little aggressive. I mean, I'm just barely like wiping it, really. I'm not scrubbing it or pressing, a lot of pressure, nothing. Let the chemicals and this vibration do the work for you. There you go, right? And you can see, you know, I didn't go all the way up here, right? Because I don't want to get where that thing goes down that guide. A little bit of rust on this. Again, these are the intake valves, right? Alright, so here's my little drill press, and we've got our valve, and then I have just this, you know, plastic tube, and I'm just going to put that on the end of it to protect it. There we go. Alright, so now I have this on the end. I'm just going to hand chuck this. Now this step you don't want to do with a glove. I have the drill press set at the lowest setting. We will be using our gray pads, the ultra fine. I feel these red pads, or even though everybody's using the red pad, I feel it's just too aggressive. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to stay off of this probably. It looks like, you know, it already has little scratches on it, but it has nothing to do with what I did. I will wet my pad with that, and I don't want to get it all over the place, so I'm going to lay this down. And that's basically all I'm going to do. We'll see how that comes out. So I'm keeping it nice and wet. This thing's really wet, and I'm not putting much pressure, just, you know, placing my hand on it, basically using the weight of my hand. Let's see. Let's see what that looks like. You don't want to wear gloves when you do this. It's looking pretty good. Alright, after I've cleaned off all the carbon and everything, I'm going to use a plastic cleaner polish. You know, just Meguiar's, you know, it's for headlights, things like that. You know, there's no way that this would scratch this steel. It's for plastic. So I'll use that and a microfiber towel, and we'll see how it works. So all I'll do is I'll just put some of this paste on here, and here we want to get that whole stem good on here. So this won't hurt anything, but it should polish it. We'll see. With that turning black like that, you know that it's working. It's definitely polishing. I think I can put a little bit more. This isn't going to make it really run any better. I know everybody says polish your valves and do this and do that. Look, that engine is so inefficient, you know, compared to today's engines. Right? What is it, 200 and something horsepower? That's it, you know. Out of these V8s, they can get 1,000 horsepower out of the engines they have today. Alright, so you tell me what you think. So there's the top of the valve, right? And there's the underneath of that valve. Yeah, there you go. I think that valve is polished. It feels really smooth. Again, you notice I'm not using the key. I'm just hand chucking it. It's getting there. So the two most important parts about this is the seat, you know, where it sits in the seat, and the stem. The top, you can scratch it up, that wouldn't matter as long as you don't mar the sides. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. I don't think anybody will make a comment and say I'm ruining my valves. There's no way I'm taking off material. If I am, it's got to be so minute, there's no way it would make a matter. Plus this little bit of plastic wax will keep it probably from rusting for now. I think you can kind of see what I'm saying as far as a little bit of discoloration. You see that little bit? I mean, that's not going to hurt anything. I have no idea why that would be. And then there's the valve itself. Boy, that's looking nice. I'll do one more polish on there. The only scratches that are on here are the scratches that were on here. And they're less than they were. So I would say we're doing a pretty good job. Looking good. A little bit more though. You know, I'm just barely touching it, if that makes sense. I know that red one is going to scratch it. You see these guys taking a hand drill and doing this with those red pads. The drill press is doing all the work. I'm not doing anything really. I'm just taking it easy. just so you can see, because you can kind of, well, geez, you can kind of see like little scratches, right? I mean, these are just normal wear kind of thing, and you know, I may, you know, when I'm doing this, it could actually, you know, improve that. There's the back side for now, and there's the top. Let's see how she comes out. I'm not pushing where that seal will go, or the guide, I should say. That's just about good, I'm thinking. All the carbon is off, pretty much, yep. This is actually kind of fun. I just put this paste on here so I could get to it. For a cheap drill press, this thing works out pretty good, I think. 600. I have it set to 620 RPMs. Not too fast. It's a cheap drill press. I bought it at Harbor Freight many years ago. But yeah, I'd like to get the head put back together and then bring it to the machine shop and let them do a vacuum test on it. Or I can make one here. Looking good. I'm thinking I don't need to keep this video going on this. You guys are going to get bored. But I'll finish this one valve. And then I'll turn it off and finish the last few without an audience. Can you imagine if I did this with the red scratch pad? Or Scotch-Brite pad, the red one? No way. I think you ruin your valves if you do that. I know guys do it, and they have success. But I've seen some guys say that they ruin their valves doing that. And I didn't want to take the chance. So I did not make this any worse. And that's the key. Alright. So, what do you think? Do you think I improved it? Or made it worse? What do you think? I would say I improved it. That is better than when we started. Right? Basically looks like we purchased polished valves, right? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish these up. So at the ending of that video, the only thing that I did differently at the very end, the video just got all messed up. Here's a little sample of it right here. You can see it's just all messed up. And matter of fact, even when I did the darn cam, I went and polished the cam and did all that, and darn it, all that is garbage, just like this video right here. I didn't catch it, of course, until I bring it into the computer and go to edit, because everything works fine out here. So I'm going to probably just do a little remake of that a little bit, just so you can follow where I'm at and you can see what I've done. I did want to explain these parts. So I went ahead and I just took a little container like this, and I'm using simple green crystal. I know a lot of guys are using purple and green and all this, but I'm using crystal. And it might be a little bit more expensive, but I'll tell you, it doesn't harm aluminum. You can leave it in there. As a matter of fact, I used it at 100% strength as a test. 100% strength with that back cover for the engine, and let it sit there for an entire week. I took it out. The worst thing that happened to it is it darkened a little bit. That's it. It didn't hurt the aluminum. So I don't normally use it at that. I'm probably diluted 10 to 1. So I basically put the 10 to 1 solution in here and put these individual parts in there and use nothing more than a nylon brush and a gray pad only on specific areas of the spring. That's it, just the springs. And you can see it did a fairly good job. See how that comes out here. So there's your spring. This is all covered with WD-40 now. But I wanted to explain a little bit about how these things work, because I did not quite understand how this actually worked. Once I got into it, I found out that this moves, right? If you push on it, it moves really easy. It's under pressure from this little hole right there. You see that hole? So I blew that hole out, used the solvent, made sure everything's really clean, and then after it was all done, I went ahead and squirted WD-40 in there, moved it around, because you want to make sure that this thing turns right. It's not easy to turn. I mean, it's easy, but it's not, too difficult. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Another thing I want to point out about the rocker arms is that these surfaces, like this right here, this has been plated on there. You don't want to use anything aggressive at all. It's plated. I didn't even use an emery cloth really. These just cleaned up really good with just the solvent and that brush, and I just brushed it. Okay? That's that. The other thing I want to point out that I didn't realize until, I took everything apart, is that bottom retainer. This is the bottom one that sits on the bottom, and then your spring goes on top, your inner spring, and then your bigger spring. But if you see those little lines, you see how this thing turns? So you want to make sure you clean this out really good. There's a little gap in there, right along that there. I made sure I cleaned that very well, cleaned the whole outside, just so everything sits flat. But then of course when I'm all done, I shot that with WD-40. Okay, so that's basically everything that I did. And then I just reassembled this. I just reassembled it back exactly how it would go in. So then the inner spring, then the outer spring, and then I went ahead and I put the top cap on it. And then for fun, I used the old seal and stuck that on top, so it just kind of keeps everything together. And then I can put that back in my bag and keep everything organized the way that I need to keep it organized. So that is how I got to the point where everything now is pretty much ready to go back into the head. I also cleaned the head in that video. I did all that yesterday. So unfortunately that video is messed up, but I'm going to recreate that in a way, just a really quick little video, just so you guys can see how I did it, because I kind of feel that my method was probably better than 95% of the videos that you see on the internet. But we'll get back to that. I'll talk about that in the next video, and I'll try to get that uploaded within the next 24 hours or so, because we're getting ready to start assembling this. So, all right, well, thank you guys for watching this video and sticking it out to the end. And, please give me a thumbs up and share this thing, get it out there, and, and we'll really build this channel. So, until next time, thanks for joining me, you guys.